What's up? It's your buddy John back with another update. You see, I got all gussied up for you, trimmed up my beard a little bit, or what's remaining of it, and shaved my head. I just do this kind of stuff for you guys. Anyways, we'll get right into it. This week, eating went pretty well. I only ate things that were in the bounds of what I should be eating. My big problem was that I didn't log everything, so I don't have any precise measurements or anything like that. So we'll do better on that, making sure I log it all. Discipline here creates discipline there. We got to put it all together. However, I stayed in a deficit and I ate good things. We'll take that. Walking this week, 30 miles. I walked 4 nights this week. Normally I walk 6 nights a week. We did 4 this week, 7.5 a night. We hit 30 for the week. Some discomfort in my feet, like to the point where it was quite painful. So we took some time. I guess you shouldn't go from the couch to running the Boston Marathon. I guess it's probably not great for you, but we'll get acclimated. We'll get back to it. And sleep, again, 4 nights of 8 hours or more sleep. And that was a nice change of pace because you guys know I never sleep. I'm a vampire. But the 3 days that I didn't get 8 hours of sleep, it was closer to 3. So that's not really sustainable, and it's not conducive to what we're trying to do. I got to get all 3 of those things fixed. We weren't 100% dialed in this week how I like to be. But still, with that being said, stepped on the scale this morning and 265.9. So he lost like 3.6 pounds in the week. 3.6 pounds in a week where I would, honestly say I didn't do my best work. I can live with it. But on the next week, we'll do the things we need to do. We'll fix the things that we know need to be fixed, and the journey continues. Today I went to, my daughter had a dance event, and this is, she's been practicing for a while. This was her first event that she participated in, and that was quite enjoyable. It was quite a respite for this week to see my daughter out there, almost unrecognizable because she just looks so grown, like the time is has flown by, and that just makes you sad sometimes. I wish I could just kind of go in reverse, just go back in time. Where'd my baby go? But such is life. She had a good time. It was really fun to see her out there, and that was a bright spot this week, because this week was not a very good week for myself and my family. Last Saturday, I was mopping my floors, because I was trying to get my life in order. And I was standing over by some pictures of my grandparents with my daughter when she was very young. And my grandmother passed a few years ago. And I was looking at my grandfather and my daughter together. And I'm like, man, I wonder, I just couldn't help but wonder, like, I wonder how he's doing. And, he's up there in age. Like, I wonder how much time he has left, The next day, Sunday night, my brother texted me, my older brother Jim, to tell me that my grandfather was in hospice. And it's not like it's an unforeseen circumstance given his age, and it doesn't change anything. Like, these things are inevitable for all of us, but when you're faced with it, it doesn't change anything. When a lot of this growth on this channel, I'm trying to be a better man. And when I think of what a man is, I think of my grandfather. And this guy has been married almost 70 years up until my grandmother passed. 5 kids, all raised up, countless grandkids. Some of them are graduating high school right now. Retired from service from the Navy, worked at the post office, retired from the post office. Was no stranger to hard work, enjoyed building things, like they built a pole barn, they built a garage. Like, the guy had no problem with any of that stuff. Loved doing lawns, like cutting grass and stuff like that, lawn maintenance, farming, baling hay, like loved that kind of stuff. Went to church on Sunday. was known in his community. Like if you went to Cape Vincent, New York, where my grandparents lived, everybody knows my grandfather. And it's not because he's a celebrity. It's not because he's some mega rich guy who just gives to people all the time and he's got stuff named after him. They know him in the community because he is in the community. He's a person of the community that serves the community. Like anywhere you go, I would go in the town with my grandfather or my grandmother, but you go in the town and it's like, oh, hey, Fitzy. Hey. And then people just start having conversations with them. Hey, Maury. Hey, what you got going on, Maury? Hey, I was doing this the other day, And then you just kind of stand there and watch him just talk to people almost nonstop because everybody knows who he is and everybody feels that connection with them. Just one of the most selfless men I've ever known, apparent by the totality of his life up until this point. And he's the kind of man that you want to be. And if you can't get there, you at least want to know him. That's the best way I can put it. When I was in Korea in 2013, 2014, I was in a really bad place. And I came home for my daughter's first birthday. And I remember getting into an argument with my ex-wife and her telling me if I didn't get help, that her and Corey were leaving. And so I tried to get help when I got back to Korea, but when you're down in Area 1, it's a little bit tougher than it is if I was in like Camp Humphreys or something along those lines. I got to the 3-month mark before I was supposed to come home, and I was told to call my branch to see what my options were for orders. So, and I guess they're telling you like when you're in Korea on your way out, you'll actually have options. And so I called up there and they told me I could go to Fort Hood, which is down here. They told me I could go back to Joint Base Lewis McChord, which I had already been to. They told me I could go to Riley in Kansas. And then they told me I can go to Fort Drum in New York. And I immediately chose Fort Drum. I chose Fort Drum because my grandparents lived 45 minutes from there. And even though I was in a bad place and didn't care about too much, my memories of my grandparents, my memories of that place in the summertime with my grandparents and my dad and all my cousins and my aunts and uncles, something about that just even in the place I was at was still available to me. I was still tapped into it and still remember feeling that and actually enjoyed it. Enjoyed thinking about those times. When I got to drum, I immediately got into therapy. And then I got into intensive outpatient where I went to a hospital in Alexandra Bay for 6 months, Monday through Friday. Didn't go to work. That was my place of duty once my commander signed my paperwork. And I would go there every morning. They would drive us there and they would come pick us up in the afternoon. And that was what I did. My job was to try to gain tools to get better, to try to figure it out. One day, it was in the winter. I know that much. I drove up there because we had like some event. You could bring, like your loved ones up there so they could see what you were doing. And I remember I drove myself up there, and on the way back, I stopped in Cape Vincent where my grandparents live. And I remember talking with my grandmother, and she was just telling me, like, John, it's so great you're here. We're so happy to have you. Like, it's so great that you came here. Your dad's here, your Aunt Pat, your Aunt Donna, your cousin. Like, she was just going on this long list of like, it's great you're here because everybody else is here. And I just remember in my mind, like I heard all that and all that's true. But something about the mindset I was in, like I got angry. And I'm just like, Grandma, stop. I came here for you guys. Like I wanted her and Grandpa to know that my memory of this place and the role it played in my upbringing is the reason I'm here. Even through all the stuff that I'm going through, I can't think straight half the time. I don't care for myself half the time. But this place, there's something special about this place and you two. And I remember my grandmother was in tears and she was like, John, I'm so happy to hear that. My grandma, after I get done talking to my grandmother, my grandfather, who was sitting there, he asked me how therapy was going. And he said, he started talking about his time in the Navy and some of the hardships from being in the Navy. And he just wanted me to know that if there was anything I needed, like he was there for me. If I needed to talk, he's like, dude, he didn't say dude because my grandfather doesn't talk like that. But he said, if you need anything, John, you know that you can talk to me. And that meant the world to me. It's really hard, to put this in a short video because I don't want to make these videos too long. But we're talking about a giant. I mean, like a living legend to me. And that was just another case of him making sure that everyone is okay. Everybody has what they need. If it's within his power to give it to you, he will. This week as I was reflecting on everything that's transpired in this point, up until this point in my life, I was thinking about being back on the grind here on this channel, getting myself healthy and staying that way. And I was thinking about the song. I was listening to music and the song The Good Left Undone by Rise Against came on. And I know the song, I like it. And I especially like the end where he says, all because of you, I believe in angels, not the kinds with wings, not the kinds with halos, the kinds that bring you home when home becomes a strange place. The decision to go to drum was obviously a pivotal one in my life. And now that I'm thinking about it, an obvious, a huge one. And it's where the recovery started. And because I look at it how I just explained it now, I'm fine. I would go lay on the couch. My grandfather would read the newspaper. My grandmother would read a book. And they would intermittently watch the game show network, Family Feud. That's all we would watch all the time. And I could be up there all weekend and there was no expectation. There was no nothing. See, at that time, people were fixated on who I was and they wanted me to go back to being that person. How do we get you back to who you were before? My grandparents didn't care about any of that. They were just happy I was there in my current form. Three people who care about each other just sitting in the room doing nothing. But the fact that all of us were there means enough. And I can't even quantify how important that was at that time in my life to have them there for me. It makes what's to come that much harder. I know when my grandmother passed a few years ago, my grandfather was already struggling. And I mean, he was with her almost 70 years. What would you do if you lost your wife of almost 70 years, the person you had 5 kids with and all these grandkids and have built this amazing life with? I don't know that I could go 2 years, 2+ years like he has right now. I don't know that he did it for him. I think he did it for everybody around him because that's who he is. Everyone else first. But I understand now that your service is up, Grandpa. And it's all right. I'm not even worried for you. I know where you're going. You know where you're going. I know you're ready to go home and see Grandma. It's well earned. It's deserved. And I don't use the word deserved ever. Anybody who knows me knows I hate using the word deserved. But in this case, I'll make an exception for you because of who you are and what you've done. When you go, you're going to take a piece of all of us. And that's okay because no matter what you take from us, no matter how big the piece you take from us, it will be infinitesimal compared to what you've left behind. You are the measuring stick that I measure myself with. The fabric that you're cut from, they don't make anymore. I love you, Grandpa. I don't have anything else, guys. Just a heavy week. We did what we could this week to get through it. I could have been a little more disciplined. We'll be better next week. If I have any hopes of becoming half the man my grandfather is, I got to get to work. Anyways, it's your buddy John. Out.
God, your hands are green. Because they got hit by lightning.